We are quick off the mark on the MLS Road to Glory. In the video today, guys, we have got 2 Division 1 Classic entries to be going out there, as well as a redeveloped in-season strategy after our close but our near miss in match day 1. But on top of that, guys, we also did start a Road to Glory with a La Liga contingent, with Rafinha coming in as our star card, and then this kind of budget hodgepodge of Valencia and Sociedad and some randoms in between, which has also got itself into Division 1. So for Road to Glory, we've got a kind of across the pond kind of element. We've got a wee bit of European action, we've got a little bit of MLS action, and I'm looking forward to this weekend, guys, because we are starting to come into some serious form. And the MLS cards that we've picked up already, on the last week's episode of Road to Glory, we called it, if someone was going to spoil the party, NYC were just as good as a shout as anyone else. Coming into match day 2 on MLS, it's again anyone's game. It's all going to be about the correct combo of cards that we've got to choose from. Do we bring anyone else into the gallery? As well as in La Liga, looking at the fixture list, it is wide open. It is anyone's game, and when you're in Division 1, that's when it gets exciting. At any point in the video today, if you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, as we go through attacking 2 league-specific competitions here on Sorare, going for the money with in-season cards and going to try and win other in-season cards with our older classic cards, then please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and get into the comment section in this one and let me know, how you're getting on in your own personal MLS Road to Glory, because I know everyone is kind of in the same position with this one. New league format in terms of the Sorare competition, and everyone started off in that Royal Rumble division battle system last week. What division did you end up in, and how are you shaping up going into match day 2, as well as anything else you've got going on, of course. And if you are brand new to Sorare and you haven't opened up your account yet, there's a link in the description of the video and in the pinned comment that will get you $50, pounds, euros, whatever your currency is, of market credit to go out and reinforce your squad once you've bought 5 cards from the primary market, which is auctions and instant buy. Cards these days can be as little as 50p or £1. And if you open up your Sorare account without getting that extra market credit, you're behind everyone else. By clicking on that link, you do support me and all the content here at the channel, so I'm sincerely thankful if you do so. And if you do get stuck, of course, I'm here to help. But yeah, let's just get stuck straight into it. Because since last week, when the full-time whistles went and we seen where everyone was going to lie in the different divisions, I was absolutely buzzing when right at the death, our All-American squad, as I've named it here, with Captain Ryan Gauld, of course, the Goldfather himself, it got itself just into the top 25%, securing a fast pass into Division 1 alongside the NYCFC collection strategy here, which is XP'd out of its eyeballs. And it was close but no cigar, of course, for the in-season team, which does go into Division 2. It still gets promoted out of the Division 3 that we were all in, but it doesn't quite get that fast pass into D1. And the last minute change I made of signing Hannes Wolf, buying him off the market, and then replacing Burke Risa in this team with Captain Hannes Wolf, stopped it going all the way and getting into Division 1, because we ended up with Burke Risa in a crap team because I just totally shelved him. He got a last man tackle in the match, he actually got some decent AA, and he was put on the ball a lot more often than he normally is when Thiago Martins is playing. So that's just a nice little crease, a nice little detail to notice, because one of the things with MLS for all of us is there's a lot of new coaches, there's a lot of new players, and there's a lot of discovery periods for everyone in terms of how people are shaping up, who's got what jobs, etc. So gutted when that came in. We've seen that Malte Amundsen starting this game and getting a wee assist as well as a little footnote. But out of the top 4 teams that we laid out there, with all the goalkeepers that we had at rare level definitely playing, we were let down by a few of the outfielders, of course, don't get me wrong, but across these 4 teams, I think it's a really good game week 1. We picked up a little bit of essence as well, which resulted in us crafting a card. This boy here, Tiger Smalls, who we've given away to Germ because of the giveaway we ran on the channel. That was a sneaky one, and if anyone got involved in that, thanks very much for participating, and congratulations to Germ, who I just felt had the best budget, success story coming into match day 1. That was the criteria that we'd set for it, and there might be another wee hidden giveaway in this video, so don't be going anywhere. And with La Liga last week, we got promoted into Division 1. Captain Rafinha getting his decisive, which was great. The defence performed really well. Sadly, Aguerd came off at half-time, so no clean sheet bonus for him. And then our budget midfielder that we'd brought in, Frankie de Jong, feels like he's actually getting into the Barca team now. And, as a pair with Rafinha, that could be a really OP situation we've got ourselves into. We'll need to check the projected lineups. I've had to wait until after Thursday night to record, or until after Wednesday night, I beg your pardon, to record the Road to Glory because a lot of my Spanish teams, like Barcelona and Real Sociedad and Atletico Madrid, who are all on screen here, all played in Copa del Rey matches this midweek, as well as Real Madrid, of course. So I wanted to see how those games went through, who was selected, who was subbed on, when and where, did anyone get any knocks, etc. Because before we do the Road to Glory, we need to know what the lineups are pretty much going to be, because these are the strategies in MLS and in La Liga where we're trying to take that alternate route to the top. We've made it into Division 1 in different ways, which is great, but now that we're there, we need to outsmart the rest of the leaderboard. We need to make the right combos, we need to be picking differentials, we need guys that can bring the goods, but guys that can deliver big scores, and this is essentially what we're all doing on Sorare in one way, shape or form, no matter how long you've been playing the game. And when it comes to the Road to Glory element, I'm just extra motivated to make sure that it absolutely smashes. If we look at MLS this current game week, there's nothing that really jumps off the page, as we see very balanced fixture list overall. In terms of the teams that are at home, do any of them overall jump out to me? I think Orlando looked quite impressive, although defensively they were a car crash in match day 1, so them being at home with Toronto could be quite favourable for them. Montreal was a little bit of a surprise, they weren't quite as much of a pushover as I think a lot of us thought they might have been. Vancouver, who play midweek in a must-win CONCACAF Champions League game, welcome the Galaxy, who again, that's a hard one to judge. Charlotte at home to Atlanta, and then the likes of SKC and the Rapids at home to the Quakes and Dallas. None of these games really stand out. If anything, my kind of favourite game, if I was going to be picking a match out here, is Columbus away to the Revs. I don't think Columbus really are that poor on their travels, let's say. And they've got the kind of bones of like a really strong team, and for all intents and purposes did well enough on match day 1. And yet, as I scroll through the rest of this, I don't think there's a fixture that particularly jumps out, which gives me a really interesting and difficult decision to make before I build any teams or even think about who my priority kind of players are, who will be my captain and all the rest of it is. With the game week feeling still quite open, early ebbings of the season, a lot of discovery still going on for everyone, the fixture list, in my opinion, not really standing out for one particular team or another, is my bunch of guys better to go D1 Classic, which has no money on the leaderboard. We're getting cards only paid out for the top 5, although we do get significant essence payouts, really from the top 40 and above. You're guaranteed to craft a card with these amounts of essence that you're getting in. At point of recording, there's 300 entrants. I suspect a lot of people would have deployed their team by now. This maybe goes up to, I don't know, like 500 or something. Actually, we'd be able to work it out. So it's the top 25% of last week's entries. Okay, so when it's all said and done, D1 Classic should have 1,199.5 entries. So I'm going to assume they've rounded up on that, and it's 1120. And the top 20% of that would be 240. So we need to get into the top 240 in D1 to at least make it worth our while. And our best in-season entry is in Division 2, where we're getting a similar amount of essence for getting into the top 30%. Now, I don't know exactly how many will be in Division 2. I forgot the actual breakdown for that, and I'm not going to go digging through blogs to go and find how many will be in D2, but it will be more than D1. If we're going to do it, aren't we? Let's just carry a wee bit of water. So there was 1,000 entries last week. There's been more cards. So it doesn't matter because this is D2. So anyone starting now would be D3. So top 25. So top 250. There's probably going to be around the 500 mark in terms of how many entries we get into D2 in season. At the moment, about half of those teams have been kind of just locked in and registered. And this could be quite open. A lot of the power players, of course, got into the top 25%, the ones that had good combos, stronger picks, etc. And we don't have as competitive a field, potentially, but it is very wide open this game week. So I'm not too sure what I should go for. Feel free to let me know in the comment section what you would be prioritising in terms of what you're picking first. I suppose the only pressure this puts on me in terms of decision making is goalkeeper. Now, I don't actually have that many goalkeepers to choose from. I only have 2 goalkeepers in actual fact, but I've got 2 copies of each of them. So yeah, it's not even really that much of a headache outside of XP selection choices. I've got Sean John away to Orlando, and I've got Matt Freeze away to LAFC. Neither one of them that great, but Mr. Freeze has been my favourite goalkeeper I've had in MLS, so I think he kind of just picks himself. And I think with the very first team I'm picking, I'm using it in this All-American slot because I'm just picking the best 5 guys I can to try and win this, because I do think genuinely, my 5 best scores, let's see how the guys actually play football, but I should have a good enough score hidden in here somewhere. When it comes to the main bones of the NYC stuff, they're away to LA, who didn't look that great, to be honest with you, when it was all you know, I thought Marlon stood out quite well. Obviously, Ebobisse gets the highlight goal. Bouanga looked his usual self. I think Hollingshead had a good SO5 score as well. But I don't think they were that impressive off the top of my head. I forget what the score was precisely, but the New York City team is quite forecastable. And I think genuinely everyone who played in match day 1 is available for selection for me for match day 2. And when I look at my defence, it does actually bring up some interesting issues. Your man could have an equally good game. He was really impressive in the highlight package I seen, and it seemed like he was being like, you know, like, look at this, 30 points for passing. It seemed like it was more in midfield than he was at fullback. Only 9 missed passes, possession lost is only 17, which for a fullback isn't that egregious, you know. So he's got a lot of like just core possibilities of being better than a lot of people gave him credit for this season. Malty Amundsen does have like real peak potential. He's on to start as well against the Revs, which, you know, there's a fair chance of a clean sheet in that game for the Columbus Crew, if you don't mind me saying so. And Malty Amundsen is like a spike merchant, you know, he can really hit any number of score you want. Then got all the NYC guys, maybe Thiago Martins comes back, like he's forecasted to be back. I don't know if I'll gamble on him for priority lineup. Ilinic did great, of course, in match day 1, and there's 1 or 2 other bits and pieces, but I don't think the NYC guys would take precedent over either Yaman or Malty Amundsen, who are actually, in fact, both away. Now, scrolling through Amundsen's SO5 history and filtering it to away, because he's been in this squad long enough, and if we go right far back, well, 100 game weeks back or something, maybe his away form is actually pretty good, but for the he's got a 100 there, obviously, but for the most part, his away form isn't as good as his home form, which is rather indicative just generally in MLS, but it's not by much, you know. And is this maybe one of the games where they spike? I think this is a really difficult one, because I think your man is going to have the benefit of, although it's an away match, not playing midweek. And that was the back end of last season. He got that 66-62 with no decisive. His AA seems quite unfallible, as it were. But I do have some Vancouver cards also, you know, so you maybe see I'm preparing for a minor conflict of interest, which I normally don't let stop me in my tracks, but at this early stage I'm actually finding a bit of a struggle. It's hard to back a defender against Vancouver because of how good they looked in match day 1. It is just that midweek element that does tip the balance for me a little bit, but I'm going to go with Malty Amundsen, because then it just makes it much easier to pick Ryan Gauld at home, who, you know, like this early in the season, I'm not worried about the fixture pile up. Oh, they've played 2 games this week, like whoop-de-doo, you know, they've been at home. And then up front we've got Alonso Martinez is probably candidate number 1 away to LAFC. We've got Abada at home to Atlanta United, and we've got Choupo-Moting at home to Nashville, who, again, like Nashville, kind of been their usual self, haven't they? But I did think the Red Bulls looked alright without being exceptional. Alonso Martinez looks like he could score, although the LA defence is probably going to be a bit more robust than the Miami defence. I'm not as high on that necessarily. And Jadon Nelson is probably one of the only cards I am going to totally reserve to play in season. So I think I would take Choupo-Moting at home, and then I'm probably going to finish off with Forsberg. I'm not sure as an NYC card or Abada. I don't think I would play any of those guys over Forsberg at home, because again, I think they looked quite nippy. Them two with Lewis Morgan built up a nice wee kind of pattern of play there. The Red Bulls, you know, what you're getting from them in general. And I think, like, yeah, this team just about did squeak into D1. It's actually the exact same team as this, but a different goalkeeper, which is now making me think that I maybe just put in my big Sean John again. It's those negative DAs have been holding him back. Do you know what? I think I might just copy paste that team. It's team 1. Let's put your man into defence with a wee bit of the NYC attack magic here, because that might just be the nice little alteration that we make here, is we swap out that defence for NYC, which might not be up to much. In your man, if he just brings in a wee 50, a wee 58, I would be content with that. You know, we might not win D1 with a score like that, but we certainly won't get relegated. And if the NYC boys do their bit, we might still bag something worthwhile. And then I'm looking at Hannes Wolf and Sebastian Leggett. I'm looking at Abada. Maybe Abada's a good shout, because again, like, just being a forward at home. Yeah, let's go for that. Yeah, we're just going for a couple of 60s up front. Can Maxi do something? XPO booster score a little bit anyway. And then we're not really taking much risks with like shaky defenders and that kind of stuff. So I quite like how strong this has actually came out. And I have to captain Maxi, so just if he gets enough AA and a decisive, he's got a fair chance of being the highest scoring player in that team. So that's good fun. And then that takes us on to some where real decisions need to be made here. Now, we've got another classic Matt Freese we've brought in, and we've got that second classic Sean Johnson that we brought in the week before for match day 1. And it's a real coin toss between these two. Who do we think is going to have the better match? Who ultimately is the least likely to concede 3 goals? I do think the NYC defence is better than the Toronto defence. And LA away and Orlando away are both super tough. Like this, you'd maybe say LA have got a bit more star power with the Buangas of this world and Tillman and whatever. But Orlando, if anything, they just look bad defensively, which doesn't really help my goalkeeper out much. So I'm going to go with Freese on this one for the top team. So I just think like he's got a good chance of... Let's have a look at the odds. Who's got the best chance of 3 goals conceded? Right, so we're looking at New York and Toronto. New York, 33% chance, and Toronto, 33%. Wow, even the odd makers can't really split it. But the goalkeeper statistic does actually lean out a bit better for NYC. So I'm gonna use that to justify the decision I've already made. Now, when it comes to in-season defence, because I can only pick in-season cards now that I've went classic and goals, I kind of want to play Burke Risa for safety. I really want to play Ilinic because he worked last week, and Thiago Martins, if he comes back into this game, he will be asked a lot of questions defensively, and he is the passing defender. So as you can see here, like he's good for a 50 to 60 score, which is like quite respectable at this level of in-season, you know, if we have power coming in from other positions. Burke Risa normally doesn't really have that much AA because Thiago Martins gets it all, but those games where he's maybe body on the line a bit more, he can get a last man tackle in the last like 2 out of 4 matches there. And Ilinic does have a wicked cross on him, so he's really good for assists, but he also got a goal in the Miami match. So again, 3 totally different profiles of defence to choose from. Defence is the big headache with MLS, it feels like, for reals. I think looking at the LA team, I think I'm going to go with Burke Risa. And the reason I've came to that is I'm going to go with the guy who's maybe the most likely to get a double-double or a triple-triple, because he could just be getting, I know it's not technical, like it helps for duels and stuff, you know, but he could just be getting clearances. And, you know, if he can make a few tackles, interceptions and stuff like that, like, he definitely will play. He's got the least jeopardy of all of them in that regard. I think Ilinic is nailed still because of the Tavon injury, but that is subject to change. Now, we've only got 2 midfielders to actually choose from, which is quite stifling, and that is Augustin Ojeda and Keaton Parks, which is, again, 2 very different choices because Parks like is going to play the 90 minutes, but watching the first match, I thought he was absolutely terrible. He's got 50 AA in this match, which is rather incredible. He's come out with a double-double remarkably, so fair play to him. I thought he looked terrible against Miami. Really did not look good on the eye. Can tell he's been injured a lot over the last couple of years. And I think he had some really serious problems, which give me the heebie-jeebies. I'm not going to speak it into existence. You can Google it and go and find out for yourself. So that's interesting. I didn't realise he scored quite... And I know 50's not great, right? But for how bad he looked, I'm quite surprised he came out with a 50. And Ojeda didn't play the 90 minutes. He ended up getting 70 in the end before being replaced by Julian Fernandez. But he looked nippy, he looked lively. And this is more of a chance on, does he get a random DA on this game? Because he will be asked to break at LA with pace. And alongside Alonso Martinez, they're the 2 fastest guys in the team, really. So if this is a bit of a counter-attack on the go, I could see Ojeda being involved quite easily. But Parks has got a double-double. If he got a triple-triple, that would have pushed it up a little bit higher. Then you're not really too far away from a wee cool 60, which he's not really done for a while. He is a guy that does go into the box for set pieces and stuff like that. He isn't a stranger to a good score, Keaton Parks. But it's a very similar play to what we had in defence. Do we go safe or do we take the risk? And I think I'll probably go with the Risa strategy and go safe, because I do think we can get big points up front with Hannes Wolf taking set pieces, and then really easy after this to take Jaden Nelson at home, because the profile he showed, and I know it's dead easy to buy a guy that rinsed in 100 and just run into the market. We did a live stream on playback for MLS Monday where we went through all the highlights, and without even knowing the score, without even knowing, I seen he scored the goal obviously, but all the assists, I hadn't even really clocked that he was involved in them. But he was so impressive. He looked like Leroy Sané, essentially, you know, in terms of how he plays and his AA capability. If that is how he's going to play, he got 17 in this game. Like, I think that's very repeatable for him. And with 1 decisive, that's job done. You know, 4 is obviously fantastic, and if you can get multiple decisives, bring it on. But like with 17 all around, I only need 1 decisive out of a guy like that. And I think I would probably captain him because he's at home. I would like to captain Hannes Wolf because they might get a wee cheeky. Like, his AA is quite, it's not spectacular, but quite consistent. And if he's on set pieces, like swinging a corner in for like Keaton Parks or Burke Risa to stick the head on, isn't unimaginable, and I don't mind a wee bit of that correlation. And under this new manager, I think we could get, these types of scores again out of Hannes Wolf, which have been long gone. But he looked decent against Miami. He did kind of fade in the match. I think I might go with Captain Wolf. I've talked myself into it, although I really shouldn't. I think I'm going to go Captain Nelson. Sorry, Hannes. You need to earn it. And did Jadon Nelson earn it for me? Probably not. But I think his display, his performances that earned him the move. It kind of is all in keeping a little bit, isn't it? Now, I can actually list another in-season team now, which hasn't been named yet. It's still down as Team B, so we'll need to come up with a fun American name. And what I'm trying to do with all my MLS names is call them American something, just because it's just a funny kind of trope. So we've got our Sean Johnson in, which is great. And this is quite a difficult decision, actually, because I could list, let's say, another in-season team, which isn't going to be that spectacular, but it'll be guys that feature. I mean, we go up front here, we've used our two forwards that will be playing. It could feature, in this lower division, but I think Division 3 might be a lot harder than Division 2 in some ways, because this will be like newly formed lineups as well for lots of managers coming in here. So I'm not too enthusiastic about that, which makes me then want to just hide that. And then, go into this team, which I've called American Flex. So we play the Sean John in goal. And then, we can choose anyone. We don't really care about in-season and classic. We're probably going to be using classics predominantly because of XP benefits, but maybe there's an exception to that rule. And it is only NYC guys that are left for defence. And maybe O'Toole's got a good shout for this game, because I think I've not used him in any other lineup. He's only 55% on to start this, which I find unusual, because there is genuinely no other left back. But I think I'll go with O'Toole on this one, because I've not played him in any other lineup. The Hannes Wolf midfielder card is still going to make this lineup also. We've got another Abada up front, and then we've got a legit for the American Flex, the boy. Yeah, let's do that. And because it's called American Flex, I think I'm going to captain Sebastian Legit. Now, the only thing this team needs to do is get promoted for me, I think. And I think that team with Abada up front has got a bit more hope than rejigging the first team, making that weaker to then make that team somewhat viable. Promotion is the top 30%, so that's the number one objective. We really want to get the top 20% so we can get some essence along the way as well. But top 30% is all we need from the American Flex, and it's top 55% for. No, I had a DNP goalkeeper team. So I think with the goalkeeper coming in, I don't think that's too unimaginable. We do need decisives. We do need games of football to go well for us, obviously. But I feel really good with this MLS Road to Glory that we've got listed here. And I don't think there's any card here that anyone watching this couldn't have bought themselves coming into this season. I do benefit from a lot of XP benefits and collection bonus because I've owned these classic cards for literally years. But even on raw score potential, and if depending on captain choices and stuff like that, like MLS, I think, is just such a good budget competition. Now, I've got another team here called American Muscle. Now, I've got a limited freeze, which I think we can have a little bit of fun with the last team that we throw out here. And again, like all my limiteds, I'll give any of this stuff away to the FC Barcelona members. And in this video, I am going to do a little sneaky giveaway. As I plug in this, did I play Parks? I did play Parks. So do I want to play double Parks? Did I maybe play Hack here? Yeah, I like Hack. I thought actually Hack looked way better than Keaton Parks in the first game, so that's cool. I'll play the Bakrar in season because he will come from the bench, could get a goal, and that would be good for getting this card some more XP. And I'm going to do the same with my in-season Ojeda as well, because it's the same XP as my classic Ojeda. And yeah, again, he might just get that random chance at a decisive. And I'm probably going to actually go Captain Freeze on this one, because I just like a wee bit of Captain Limited Goalkeepers. It's just something I've enjoyed doing. Now, this team here, the Toy Boy team, I now have two Mason toys, as you guys know. We'll play Barraza. And this is something I would say to everyone watching this. No matter how many MLS cards you've got, no matter what you're doing. And the Penfest had a great video where he's went out and he's bought a lot of backup MLS goalkeepers. I won't say any more than that. Go and check his video out. It's a good watch. But I would suggest strongly, anyone out there who's struggling to get a goalkeeper that's playing, or wants to play a goalkeeper that's not going to play to help XP up some of the outfielders you've got who are leftovers, is get some of the goalkeepers at some of the clubs that have some of the shaky positions, or some of the ones that have an international number one goalkeeper who will fuck off for a couple of games, guaranteed. There's a few ones you can kind of hedge your bets with here. Barraza is mine at the moment, and I don't think the guy he is understudy to covered himself in glory on match day 1, so I'm crossing my fingers that he does crap again. Sorry for any holders of him, but that's how we roll. Now, Mason Toy, I really want to put into this team because he's Mason the Toy Boy, and I've fancied this defender card to be somewhat cheat code for me. I actually won a Mason toy as my tier, I can't remember what it was, a reward. So I'm going to keep the one that I won, which is serial number 14, and I'm going to give away the Mason toy number 4 out of 100 to one of yous. Now, I bought that with market credits, and it's on a cooldown, so I can't actually give it away for 5 more days. And if you want to win that Mason toy, then I want you to get into the comment section of this video. And I need explicit reference to this for me to know that you're listening at this point of the video and you're tapping into the giveaway. And I want you to tell me, like my Jadon Nelson purchase, did you go out and buy someone after match day 1 having seen them on the pitch doing something? And if you didn't buy someone, you still can get involved. Just say who you would have went for, of course, if you had the wallet there available for it. And when I see those comments coming in, they're the ones I'm going to look for. And I'll pick out the best one, similar to Jerm in the video. He had, in my opinion, the best budget, kind of bought a guy really cheap and then he's been up in price before match day 1. And if you want to see Jerm's entry as well as a bunch of other great entries into that giveaway, check out last week's Road to Glory video. And I think we'll put that in season Thiago Martins in here just to get him some XP on this one. And we'll keep the Toy Boy in there because he's at home to San Jose. So if he's on the bench, great. If not, maybe we'll make a wee last minute swap, but we'll get the Toy Boy team out there. And then that brings us to La Liga. Now, very similar to MLS, this is wide open this game week for me because Barcelona Sociedad is like a kind of clash of bigger clubs. Both of them played midweek. Barcelona have a day advantage on Sociedad as it happens as well. So there's maybe a little bit of favouritism for Barcelona coming into this game, who are at home. Real Madrid again played against Sociedad, the aforementioned. Last night, Wednesday at point of recording, they're away to Real Betis. And Atletico Madrid, who played Copa del Rey against Barcelona, are at home to Athletic Bilbao, who again have been no pushovers this season as well. And in the rest of the games, like, in terms of how they're split home and away, equalises a lot of the ones out that might have been favourites at home, but they're away. And the team, well, if they're at home, they might be decent. They're at home, that kind of thing. So it's actually wide open. Now, I've only really got 2 choices when it comes to goalkeeper. I'm looking at Jan the Man Oblak, who is probably in the middle of one of his best L5s, I think we've seen in recent times. His L5s don't normally get too great, but Jan the Man is doing it. He was rested midweek for Jan Musso. But we have Killison away to Valladolid, where like that could be a good one for a clean sheet and a bit of AA. Killison loves a 70-pointer, and that's kind of what he offers in a match like this. Valladolid have scored like hardly any goals. Athletic Bilbao are a bit feistier. They are 4th in the league. I think I'm going to take Killison. Now, with it being the classic goalkeeper again, very similar to what we've got going on with MLS. And with MLS, I am looking to try and get an in-season goalkeeper ASAP to try and tap in to the hot streak. And we'll talk about that more as we get to it. But I'm in no rush for match day 1. That ship has sailed, and probably for match day 2 as well. So we move onwards and upwards. Now, having now seen how the Sociedad Barcelona, the Sociedad Real Madrid match went out, I can now have a look and see, like, would I fancy any of my Sociedad guys to play against Barca away, which the answer is quite firmly no. So I'm then looking at really the Valencia guys who are away to Osasuna. And the Valencia projected team isn't that rock solid. There's not that much to really go on. There's a lot of 50-50s here, 65s and all the rest of it. But thankfully in defence, Jose Gaya is still 95% on. Berenashea is 80% on. Javi Guerra 90%. And I do really think Diego Lopez is so vital to their attack. He will be on to play. And Hugo Duro, I can't really believe is in a 50-50 with Sadiq. I think he's much the better player and has had great form this season. But anyway, I think we can easily take Jose Gaya, who's been in good form since returning from injury, and under the new manager. And even against Atletico Madrid, brought in a pretty respectable 52 there without the clean sheet. Losing 3-0 and still trapping a 52 in from left back is pretty good going. So Jose Gaya can play in this team A-OK, no problem for me. Midfield has a lot of options available. Berenashea will play, of course. I've got Sergio Gomez and Luka Sucic, who should play for Sociedad away to Barca. And I probably, don't have De Jong for this one. But after his form that I've seen recently, and by the way, this is one of the things I love about this little series that we're doing, Road to Glory, and the budget approach that I've had with La Liga and we're doing with MLS, is the difference maker so often isn't how big your wallet is, but just how quick you are to realise a pattern that's about to emerge or a player situation that's about to change. And Joan Jordan, Alaves have been decent for a while, right? Like, I mean, like, decent, you know, they've not been great. But their manager they've got there now is a guy called Quinny. And Quinny was the manager of Celta Vigo when La Liga first came on. And some of you guys might remember, for me, that was a great, great period of La Liga SO5 action, because Brais Mendes was peak, Denis Suarez was peak, and there was one or two other players, but I didn't have their cards. But those ones for me were very effective in his system. And he's got two more of players I love in his system. Elena, a degen into that super rare, of course, but Joan Jordan. Now, they're away to Mallorca, which isn't where you want to play Mallorca. You want to play Mallorca at home. But I don't think Alaves are going to... It's a bit different when it's like Real Madrid and Barcelona going to these places. The crowd are a wee bit more tempered, you know, there's a wee bit more spice in the air, as it were. And anyway, like, the home advantage thing still plays into it, don't get me wrong, but I think Joan Jordan might actually be the most sensible option here. One of the other budget differentials we've got is Oscar Rodriguez, who is at home to former club, and he's got a lot of former clubs, Getafe, but he's not likely to start this one, so I don't think we can lean on him. So it's really Barrenechea away to Osasuna, which is a really good matchup for someone like Barrenechea, who is like a defensive midfielder who's got a lot of passing stats. And Joan Jordan, but taking set pieces as well. Bit of a pass master. He loves a bit of a defence stuff as well. Yeah, he wins his tackles. Duels are there. Maybe needs a wee interception or two. Mallorca is a game where, you know, that could just go his way quite easily. So I think, you know, picking Joan Jordan's a wee bit more exciting than Barrenechea, because with that decisive capability, the AA he's catching can jump quite quickly, and Barrenechea's not quite that DA capable. Rafinha's going to be the captain of the team, of course, at home to Sociedad. He gets subbed off at a good time in the Copa del Rey, and then this is really the tough choice here, is the fifth man. Do we go with somebody like Diego Lopez, who away to Osasuna, like, if Valencia get a goal, he should really be involved in it. And he can be quite good for a 72 or 74, you know, is the way I would think about this. As we can see, his decisives have came against Leganés, yeah, Barcelona, but Alaves, Espanyol, Betis, okay. Celta Vigo, Barca. If we look at away, do we have a wee bit of a correlation with away matches? 50-50, nothing too striking there, is it? We've got the aforementioned Barrenechea as well, of course, who will kind of definitely do his thing, but it's just, does he really get going? Does he really catch a lot of decisive, a lot of AA? Because against Atletico Madrid under the cosh, wow, 70 accurate passes, wee bit of stuff into the final third, but Jules won 5-0, interceptions there, 3 tackles won. Will he have that kind of game against Osasuna? It's hard to imagine. It feels like he might be on the ball a little bit more, which might give us like this kind of 57-point score. 4 interceptions, wow, Jules won off the charts as well. That's not too shabby. Passing 41. Interesting. Maybe that's a developmental thing. But maybe he's just getting better. Alaves 62. 51 accurate passes. Jules all good. Interceptions. Yeah, this feels like a really solid pick, where Diego Lopez is a bit more risky. Because I think Osasuna will fight. So, but if he can, yeah, I think we go Barrenechea. I think this is the way we cook it, and it's Captain Rafinha. Now, this is Division 1, guys. The reason we're, and again, like, this is hopefully differential city for us. The top prize is $2,500. If we get on the podium, it is cooking. And really, if we get, as long as we get into any of the cash spots, we're going to be doing great. Joan Jordan cost me like a $5, a 1 Barrenechea. Jose Gaia cost like a $10, and Rafinha, we won Salah and traded into that. So, like, if this team can win something significant, it's all going to be gravy. And then we've got Oblak, and we could take Lenormand, who actually had a pretty good game against Valencia. He got rotated out of Copa del Rey, and he's a Sociedad guy at home to Bilbao. So, like, I wouldn't rule out him scoring from a corner or something like that, but Starfelt away to Girona is like a perfect Starfelt match. Girona are not that potent. They probably score or whatever, but he could last man tackle, goal line clearance in this game. Easy. Very Starfelt match. And I think that's what I want to take, is Starfelt. And then for midfield, I think I'm going to go with Sol and probably Parejo, but let's see if we've got more forward options than I'm thinking about. Because, yeah, like, we've only really got those Valencia boys again to call upon, and I think Diego Lopez is the one I would take above the rest of them. And then Danny P is a good 5th man. Outside of that, I'm not sure there's anyone else here I would be super, like, oh yeah, he could just bring a 70 for fun. A lot of them are like, yeah, it could be okay, it could be fine, but aren't that exciting. So I think it has to be Danny P. We've got good XP on him as well, which helps. Even if he brings in like a 64, it might be a bit more potent. And in terms of captain, oh, it's actually quite a tough one, by the way. I'd be quite tempted to go Captain Starfelt on this one, but previously this season I've done quite well with Captain and Diego Lopez, and I think I'm going to stick with that as well. Sol's form has kind of returned since Yeah, he's kind of maybe Saul's a good take. Vallecano or no mugs butts. I'm not too sure I want to. Yeah, I think I'll go Captain Diego Lopez. And this is in D2. All we need this to do is get promoted into D1 again. And for so many of our players not to be playing Barcelona or against each other. And we'll be cooking. I'm looking forward to catching the comment section on this one, guys. Good luck to all of your teams for this game week, especially any kind of budget road to glory efforts that you've got going out there. On screen there is some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more content like this. Stay out of trouble, and I will catch you on the next one.